So should the Spurs consider chasing Kevin Durant?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're in the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Cans 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you all back. Hope you're having a great day. And the season continues, right? Yeah, we're going to be discovering, at least discussing a couple topics here on Locked On Spurs. And by the way, be sure to subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Cans 5 Plus app. Locked On Spurs newsletters in the description below on YouTube. There's a link there. It says LO Spurs newsletter. You want to click on that. Completely free. Sign up today. Here's your email inbox every single day. All right, if you're watching on the screen on YouTube, you can see what we're talking about. But for those who aren't, we are discussing Kevin Durant. Yes, I know he's a lightning rod, when it comes to his career, ring chasing, all that stuff. But all reports and signs indicate that he's likely going to leave Phoenix via a trade or some sort of deal working out this offseason. We're going to discuss if the Spurs should get involved in that. Hey, they got the assets, right? They got the picks, they got the players. We'll see if our guest agrees that the Spurs should bring in KD. And then we're going to talk about Locked On Spurs fan comments. We're going to pick two. I know last time I said three, but we got to keep this show going. I know. We'll pick two. We'll react to that. Let's just say a lot of y'all are talking about the T word, the tanking. Well, you'll hear what you guys are talking about in just a few minutes. So, the Spurs are in a rebuild, right? Still looking for pieces to build around Wemby. They got a couple of good ones, right? Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, of course, Wemby himself. But you got those ones that are, I don't want to say on the bubble, but could be moved if need be. Your Vassell's, your Keldons, your Jeremy Sohans and whatnot. So we're going to be discussing that. Should the Spurs use some of those assets that they have to bring in an established star, a Hall of Fame-bound player moving forward? Hey, look, they did it with CP3, right? Yeah, maybe they could do it again. Bringing in that level of player, aged veteran who can help, and that is Kevin Durant. I know. A lot of Spurs are going to leave comments right now saying, what are you talking about? KD, ring chaser? Maybe it might work. Let's go to bring in our guest. Let's see, where is that? But I can bring him in. Look who's making his debut here at Locked On Spurs. It's Zach Montana from the Silver and Black Coffee Hour. Zach, pleasure to meet you in Austin, and I'm glad you agreed to come on Locked On Spurs.
What's up, Jeff? Yeah, glad we got to meet in Austin. Had a great time shooting the stuff with you in the background and eating a good dinner and talking some Spurs. So yeah, can't ever complain. I appreciate you having me. And we had an interview with each other years ago.
Yeah, years ago.
Talking about one Kawhi Leonard. So that tells you how far back we go. So it was nice to put a name to a face.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've known Zach social media for a while now, but I finally got to meet him during the Austin I-35 games. Go figure, right? Austin I-35, Kevin Durant's the topic today. You see how it all comes together, Zach?
You knew what you were doing.
I knew what I was doing. Yeah, by the way, everybody, make sure to follow Zach on X. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it on your screen now. Zach Montana 210. And again, he's with the Silver and Black Coffee Hour. Great other co-host he has there. Wasn't a familiar name here, Tom Petrini. We tried to get Tom on, we really did. But his schedule, man, he's a busy man.
You had to call backup.
Had to go back. I had to do the tag team, man. I tag teamed Zach, and in you are, and here. Handling a big topic here. Let's go and dive into it. Look, Zach, the Spurs they're still in the rebuild. They're not out of the woods yet. They got some work to do still, namely a big man to back up Wemby moving forward. But there's other pieces that the Spurs can bring in, whether that's via the draft this offseason, via trade, Kevin Durant, or just simply free agent signings. So before we dive into our takes, let's go and give over some of the reports. There are reports out there, especially via Brian Windhorst, ESPN, saying that all signs are indicating that Durant is out of Phoenix. They're going to try to work with him and get him out of Phoenix via a trade. So that's where we're at. But he's not a spring chicken. This is a guy that's, I guess in the back end of his prime. I think that's safe to say, the back end of it. But he's still putting up monster numbers. He is a proven scorer. He's a proven commodity. Zach, you are the guest. You get first crack at this. Should the Spurs even consider looking at Kevin Durant and bringing him here to San Antonio?
look, if you're on the back end of your career, you're still shooting 53% from the floor, 26 points a game.
Yeah.
You have my attention. I don't care how old you are. If you do that, and some people seem to think timelines need to match.
Yeah.
Dallas is one of those teams that seems to be matching age with age to kind of go the same route. I have a different take with it.
Yeah.
My idea with Kevin Durant, I think it's pretty simple. I think you have to pay Wemby, obviously, year 5 with his contract. So you're at what, year 3 with Wemby coming up this next season. Got to pay De'Aaron Fox at some point. Okay, you have your draft picks, which is the issue with jumping into the second apron and the first apron. Their teams are concerned about getting their hands tied behind their back. Honestly, this is a perfect opportunity for the Spurs, in my opinion. I don't really do these rumors type things, but if I do dabble in it, this does make sense because, as you said, back end of his career, you're only going to have to pay Kevin Durant. You could get by with paying him for 2 years, and you can say, hey, look, we're going to give you a little 2-year contract. We know you're not going to – we can't give you a 5-year contract. You'll be 42 by that point.
Right.
A 2-year contract. By that, Wemby learns under Kevin Durant, gets 2 years of tutelage with the guy he wants to be, the guy he wants to replicate. And then you pay Wemby at year 5. You got to give him the max, super max, whatever it is with the games played and the awards that he's won. Hopefully by that time it's a few Defensive Players of the Year, a few All-NBAs. Honestly, if you're asking me, and I don't sign the checks, but I think it makes sense. It'd be a cool idea.
Yeah, you don't sign the checks? I'm surprised. I thought you did. I thought you did.
Shh, don't tell anyone.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell anybody. You bring some good points. I think the big point you brought up is Wemby, and he's openly admitted that KD is the guy that he grew up watching, that's the guy that he patterned a lot of his game after. And it makes sense. When KD came into the NBA, it was, we've never seen this kind of player before at his height and his mobility and the way he shoots the ball and whatnot. So it's almost duplicated again, but times 10 with Wemby. So there's that. And again, historically, just look at recent history. The Spurs have brought in aged veterans, CP3. Now, granted, CP3 is a lot cheaper. Is willing to, take, I don't want to say a pay cut, but, come on to a team that is still a rebuild. So everything just lined up. And it was a starting role for him. It lined up. But, if I'm looking at KD, I'm thinking, man, but do you think he would want to take a back seat? And look, he's done it already. And I think there's no other reason why it would work out. He did it in Golden State. He was behind guys like, Pete, Klay Thompson, and you got Steph Curry. He bumped head with Draymond Green. But the point is that he's already worked well in the proven commodity there. And that aspect of working well with known players that are the faces of the team. KD was the face of the team in OKC before he got dealed. And that he's adjusted to that. So I don't think that will be an issue there. But I think the biggest issue too is the financial aspect of it. How much is he going to want? Because if this is the back end of his career, he's going to want to get paid, Zach. And look, historically, the Spurs are penny pinchers, aren't they?
Oh, 100%. And I think that's what kind of brings a different dynamic to the conversation. Personally speaking, if you trade him, he's not is he a free agent after the season? He's not a free agent. So you're gonna take up that contract no matter what it is. Me personally speaking, Kevin Durant's played with every team he's really been on in his career. He's been with another running mate, another star, 2 stars. You can look at OKC. He had Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, and James Harden at one point. But then they lost James Harden, but they still did great with those 3 guys. Then in Brooklyn, he was with Kyrie and James Harden at one point. And then he goes to Phoenix. He's been with 3 big heads there with Devin Booker and now Bradley Beal. I don't see Kevin Durant having an issue, especially when he's playing with a guy like Wemby. I think it amplifies both games. It allows both players to kind of play on opposite sides of the floor. You can't double one, you're going to get killed by the other. I don't see why it would be an issue. I think a player in the back end of his career can look at things a little differently. Being in the room with him, I had the pleasure, and honestly, it was one of the cooler experiences I've had in my lifetime, being in the room with Kevin Durant for two different interviews in Austin. The one for his introduction interview on the Wednesday before the game, and then post game after the game on Thursday. Being in the room with Kevin Durant, you can just tell he loves basketball.
Yeah.
Like, the guy is obsessed with basketball, and I think he's got a lot of respect for the Spurs organization. If we want to go way back from 2012 to 2017, the Spurs eliminated Kevin Durant, or Kevin Durant even eliminated the Spurs in those consecutive years.
Mm-hmm.
And they besides 2013, every year else eliminated us with Golden State, eliminated us with OKC. He's played big games against the Spurs. I think it'd be a full circle moment to win big games for the Spurs. So we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. But there are some obstacles that could possibly get in the way of maybe Durant agreeing to come to San Antonio. We're going to discuss that and more right here on Locked On Spurs with Zach Montana. If you're watching on YouTube, you see his X account right there. There it is, Zach Montana 210, right on your screen. So you want to go there right now, give him a follow, good follow. He's with the Silver and Black Coffee Hour. But first, let's talk about Open Phone.
Running a small business means you're wearing a lot of hats. Your personal phone becomes your business phone, and before you know it, you're juggling customer calls day and night. As your team grows, it becomes impossible to manage everything with just your personal number. That's where Open Phone comes in. It's the #1 business phone system designed to help keep your work and personal life separate. For just $15 a month, the cost of a few coffees, you get a complete transparency and visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. Open Phone works through an app on your phone or computer and integrates with tools like HubSpot and hundreds of others. It also uses AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, so you'll have a rundown of all your calls and action items the second you hang up. And if you miss a call, no problem. Automated messages are sent directly to your customer, ensuring you never miss an opportunity to engage. Right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OpenPhone.com/LockedOnNBA for 20% off 6 months. Openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have an existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge.
Oh, hey, this is Morty Smith and Cheese. You are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia on Cheese.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with the one, the only Manu Ginobili. Oh, that ain't Manu Ginobili.
I wish.
Oh, I thought that was Manu Ginobili. No, he's Zach Montana. You see, even better. Zach Montana of the Silver and Black Coffee Hour. Make sure to follow Zach on X. You see it on your screen right now if you're watching on YouTube. He is at Zach Montana 210. And I believe the Silver Black Coffee Hour, the X account is there too on your profile, right?
I know, but I'll tag that in afterwards, and people just Silver Black Coffee Hour. It's in my bio, so you'll see it in there. So just hit me and then click that the 2-for-1 follow, please.
There you go, 2-for-1 follow right there, and great show. You're on YouTube, broadcast out of Austin, which is technically the second home of the San Antonio Spurs. So you definitely want to give them a follow. Excuse me. And do that right now. What are we talking about? We're talking about Kevin Durant. Reports are out there that his time in Phoenix is all but over. If he does leave, it'll be via trade. The Spurs do have the assets to make that happen, and then some. It really, really could make Phoenix go like, yeah, we want to deal with San Antonio because they got it. I don't think Phoenix has a pick in until we die. Seriously, I don't know if they even have picks anymore. They just wasted all of them. They're going to want to start a rebuild. What better way to go to a team, San Antonio, that has just the war chest of draft picks, some solid players, not all-star quality, but good players that can help them if the Spurs decide to flip. Now, before we get to that question, let's talk about some roadblocks that could happen. Well, one, Kevin Durant just simply doesn't want to come to San Antonio. Simple as that. Why? Because another report out there is that he wants to go to a contender, Zach, and the Spurs are not a contending team right now, but you would think that maybe Kevin Durant could be that missing piece to not maybe put him a contender, but make them really make some noise in the West. How much do you think the factor is that the Spurs are not going to be fighting for the title anytime soon? may be a roadblock for that Kevin Durant and San Antonio thing to come true?
You could change that real quick. I think that becoming a contender or a pretender right now is you're balancing a fine line in the NBA. All these teams, especially in the West, are very balanced. And if there's a team that's one piece away, it is the Spurs. They have De'Aaron Fox. They have Wemby. Throw Kevin Durant in there and enjoy stopping those three guys on offense. Yeah. And to say that Kevin Durant is a slouch on defense, what I've noticed, a lot of players, when they talk about Kevin Durant as a basketball player, I've heard recently a lot of players are mentioning his defense. They're really on his, hey, he's a basketball player. He's not just an offensive player. So those three guys together, I think automatically makes the Spurs a contender in the West. Not a championship favorite by any means, but they're a contender. And with Wemby and Kevin Durant, I think anybody you put around them, they're going to be a contender.
Yeah, absolutely. Another obstacle I think that could be on the table is, Kevin Durant is ring chasing, and maybe he just personally won't look at the Spurs as a ring destination. This is where I look at CP3 and I'm like, hey, CP3, go talk to this guy here. Go talk to KD. Try to recruit him to come to San Antonio, because the establishment, the foundation they have right now, obviously is trending upward. You throw Wemby in there, Fox, Castle. If they keep their draft picks or whatever they keep ultimately, that's another young stud they can bring into San Antonio that can help push them further along in the rebuild and get closer to that contender status. Another option, I think, Zach, and we get your opinion on this, is the coaching situation. He's a big fan of Pop, and Pop right now, his future is kind of cloudy right now. It's uncertain. Mitch seemingly could get the nod to take over. That's not set in stone. But do you think the fact that the Spurs are having, I guess, a coaching issue right now with Pop's, medical condition, do you think that could maybe inhibit Durant for saying, you know what, I would love to San Antonio, but I don't know where you're going with this coaching spot. What do you think?
Well, I could look at it at a different angle. Say Pop does come back next season, and Pop does announce, hey, it's my last season. I'm going to give it. I owe it to the guys. I owe it to myself to give this one last shot, to give this team, to give Wemby, to give De'Aaron Fox, to give these guys a proper run with me there. So to flip it, I don't see why, and you brought up a great point with Chris Paul. And we've touched on this on our show multiple times about how the Spurs understand that bringing Chris Paul in was a short-term fix, but also long-term in terms of what they're trying to build for this team. Veterans can look at, hey, Chris Paul went there. Chris Paul got a proper run. Chris Paul got a proper opportunity with that team, showed himself, even though Chris Paul is a shell of himself. He's old. He's an older guy. Yeah. But the Spurs are still being respectful and giving him the proper chance to show himself. That's what they told him. That's what they said the opportunity was this season. And they haven't shied away from that. And I think veterans can look at that and say, hey, look, this team isn't all talk. They're going to bring you in. They're going to tell you how they want you to play. And they're going to tell you how they're going to play you. And they're going to do that. I think that helps.
So, that's a good point. The Spurs, you double down on that too with CP3, showed the NBA that veterans can come to the team. Veterans can help out a roster. Look at De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox went from, a Sacramento team that has some recent success and openly said, reportedly, San Antonio was his number one destination. If he got dealed, he got to San Antonio, and if you compare Sacramento to San Antonio, it's, Spurs haven't had a lot of success of late as far as reaching playoffs as a measuring stick here. Haven't had that. Yeah, Sacramento recently had, so there's that as well. Another example, like why San Antonio could be a destination. Obviously, Wemby makes everything better, a destination team. You pair up with Wemby, your life's going to be a lot easier if you're an NBA player on his side. So there's that as well. But with Kevin Durant, let's look at some of his career numbers. He's a career 25-plus point scorer. He gives you a little over 4 assists a game, shoots over 50% from the field, close to 40% from the 3 line. So there's that. So he gives you some numbers, and he's still doing that as we speak, as of this recording with Phoenix. So considering his age, how old is he? He's 36 years old. Not bad, as you mentioned to start this season. Start this episode. Excuse me, Zach. But let's talk turkey, because that's what Phoenix is going to want to talk. How much? Phoenix is going to want a little bit of a bag for Kevin Durant, considering what he's still doing. Do you think the Spurs will meet that price point? Because Phoenix is probably going to want a lot. What would Zach Montana be willing to give up?
For Kevin Durant in the offseason, a 37-year-old Kevin Durant, man, that's a great question. Yeah. That's because you don't want to leverage too much of your future on someone who won't be there for the future. And you don't want to, and my main concern is teams are going to see, especially a team like Phoenix, is going to see that Spurs have 2 2025 picks.
Mm-hmm.
Both could be in the lottery.
Right.
We own the 2026 rights for Atlanta, and we own their 2027 pick. My concern is teams will see that and realize that those are way more valuable, and we'll start asking just specifically for those picks. I don't want to give those picks up. I think those picks have the most value in the league. The Atlanta Hawks are so up and down. Trae Young is so whatever. He doesn't want to be there. He wants to be there. The team's this, the team's that. My going rate for Kevin Durant would basically be telling the Suns that they don't have any leverage in this situation, which they don't. Because what leverage do they have? They've already tried to trade him in the mid-season this year. They've already let people know, hey, he's up for auction. He's up for trade. That's exactly why the Lakers Dallas didn't want to let people know Luka was up for sale, because they're concerned it's going to turn into this whole storm that you can't really control. Okay, Spurs once again own all the leverage. We own the picks. Y'all don't have any picks. Y'all are giving away picks to get picks back because y'all don't have any picks. It's getting to the point where, and they're in the second apron. Their hands are tied. They can only bring people in who are the same. It's a whole science behind the second apron. So I think you can lowball. I personally think you can give them 2 picks later on down the line that you're never going to see, that you're never really going to care about, because if Spurs are planning on being good, then who cares about a 30th pick in 2030 anyways? They'll be good anyways. So I don't like throwing names out there. I just say that you have leverage, and that it would take 2 players and probably a good boatload of picks.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely see the Suns saying, a boatload of picks. You're absolutely right, because they're tapped out. They're just tapped out of picks. And moving Durant could be a sign of a first step in a rebuild in Phoenix. So why not start off with some quality draft picks? Good point, Zach. If you're going to look at some of the players on the roster, obviously the usual names come up. Your Devin Vassell's, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan. I think at this point, Castle is very close to being untouchable. Very, very close. So I think he's not on the table. De'Aaron Fox, I don't know. I think the Spurs would lean to keeping De'Aaron Fox younger. The scoring option. But then Kevin Durant gives you the scoring option. But I just think De'Aaron Fox just fits the mold better. So I think they keep him. He's probably likely off the table. So since player-wise, it doesn't rise up to the level of a Hall of Fame bound Kevin Durant, it might lean more with draft picks. And I think the Spurs got more than enough to satisfy a sticker price that Phoenix would have. So should the Spurs do it? Man, that's a good question. I think part of me says, do it if it's short term. Don't give him any big time contract extension. To give him a Pau Gasol like contract. Just stay away from that. 1 or 2 year, because you don't know, how he's going to be physically. He has a recent history of some injuries. There's that. So I think you keep it short term. You're going to give up some picks. Go for it. Likely some players, but I think if it's a short term thing, Zach, I'm okay with it. But you know what? Hey,
and the good thing is,
Oh, go ahead.
I'm looking at his contract right now. I don't mean to interrupt you. But I'm looking at his contract right now, and he's a free agent in 2026, 2027. So the Spurs would realistically have, once again, more leeway and leverage saying, hey, can't get rid of him. He's going to walk for free next offseason anyways. So figure it out.
Good point. Yeah, good point. All right. We're not done with this topic. When we get back, we're going to ask kind of the bigger question that's probably looming in the room right now. You'll see what it is in just a few minutes. We're joined by Zach Montana. Make sure to follow my next site, Zach Montana 210. Do that right now. He's part of the Silver and Black Coffee Hour, so he'll brag about that in just a few minutes. But first, let's talk about BetterHelp.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Who is in your support system? We all need people to lean on, whether it's friends, family, mentors, or professionals. Even the strongest leaders and athletes know that asking for help makes them better. Therapy is one way of building a strong support system. It's not just for tough times. It helps with setting boundaries, developing coping skills, becoming the best version of yourself. Learning to ask for help. I've seen firsthand how valuable it is to have a support system. It keeps you grounded and motivated. What about everyday benefits? Therapy isn't just about crisis moments. It's a tool for self-improvement, stress management, and navigating life's challenges. Convenient and accessible, BetterHelp is fully online, making it easier than ever to connect with a licensed therapist from anywhere. With over 30,000 professionals available, you can find the right fit and switch at any time at no cost. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA.
This is Emilio Rivera, El Padrino for the Mayans MC. You are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Zach Montana. Follow him on X, Zach Montana 210. He is with the Silver and Black Coffee Hour. Those guys are doing a bang-up job from Tom Petrini, obviously Zach and Aaron. They all do a great job. He'll talk about where you can follow them, the show, and so much more in just a few minutes. We're talking about Kevin Durant with the Spurs to make a play for him. Then I think we should have time for a couple of Locked On Spurs comments. If not, we'll at least get one. So we'll see how that goes. But this is a great conversation because the Spurs are in a rebuild, chasing Kevin Durant. The draft is coming up. Zach, I always contend that if they're going to really push this rebuild forward, why don't they just sign you as a backup big?
Oh, they can't handle that type of paycheck. It's too much money. It's too much money.
It's too much money. Zach will just break their bank. All right.
There you go.
Zach, getting back on track here, though, real quick, though. I guess one more question before we shift over to the Locked On Spurs fans is, are we talking about creating a super team in San Antonio? Because historically, super teams haven't worked. The Miami Heat did. I guess, yes, the Warriors did, at least for a year with Kevin Durant when they won the title there. But you look what happened in Brooklyn. With Durant and Harden and that whole thing didn't work out. Phoenix definitely is not working out right now. Are we towing the line in San Antonio with a super team when super teams usually don't work?
Yeah, I definitely think you are. And I definitely think the Spurs are, especially with Wemby. And you just hear how players talk about him throughout the league, about what they expect from him in the next 5 years, what they see from him now. As just a recreational basketball player, I would love to play with a guy like Wemby. You kidding me? Imagine being an NBA superstar, and it's like, oh, this guy's going to make my job so much easier.
Sure, yeah.
So, yes, I definitely think the Spurs are towing the line of a super team, but it's a little different, in my opinion, because they're trying to still go about it organically by keeping their guys that they drafted. So it's they're trying to balance it.
Are they skipping steps? What? Could they be skipping steps, Zach, if they go after Durant and bring him in?
Short term, yeah. They definitely be skipping steps.
They're 100% steps, yeah.
But the steps you're skipping allow your big time star, your future, to take in my personal opinion, take 15 steps, positive 15 steps forward because of the guy he's learning from.
Exactly. All right. There's so many angles and twists and turns and facets of this topic. I'm pretty sure we missed a couple, but we definitely got to hear from you. What do you think about this idea of the Spurs at least thinking about bringing in Kevin Durant? As y'all know, again, the report saying that it's time in Phoenix is all but over, so be a trade. We'll see what the Spurs fans have to say. You can let Zach know your thoughts on X at Zach Montana 210. Let me know by going to the Locked On Spurs YouTube page, leaving a comment, and we might read that in the future episode. And, well, so when I say this last, it's now the future. So now we're going to get those past remarks now in the future. Because it's your turn, guys. It's Locked On Spurs fan comments. We have time for a couple. So drum roll, please. Let's see what you. Oh, good Lord, Zach. Do we want to start off with the first one I saw?
Do it.
All right. All right. Here we go. This is from, and sometimes, Zach, I don't know where fans get these handles, these ideas for the name handles, because I'm like, where do you come up with this? But this is from, I can't pronounce. I think it's unpronounceable. So I'm going to spell it out. This is from @GNVTWHP1218. I don't get it, but okay.
All right.
Thank you, GNT, for this comment. He says, quote, y'all have Fox. Y'all gonna lose without Wemby. Laugh emoji, laugh emoji, laugh emoji. Pray for Wemby's health, full health recovery. Y'all didn't believe me. The Spurs team is trash without Wemby. What do you think about that? Are the Spurs trash? Just trash without Wemby? Zach, your thoughts?
That's a little harsh. I think we've said it on the podcast a few times on our episodes, and recently, especially everything going on. It's just, hey, understand that Wemby is a top 10 talent, and Wemby does make everyone around him better. So judging everybody off what you judge Wemby from is not fair. That's not like a good barometer to judge people from. Especially, the last week, they had to learn how to win without Wemby, knowing he wasn't going to come back. When Wemby has a sprained ankle, team knows he's coming back. When he's out for the rest of the season, okay, they have to readjust. Last two games, we've seen some adjustments, seen a lot more downhill pace. The Saturday game and the Sunday game, both very competitive games. We're in both of them. One on Saturday, lost on Sunday. Unfortunate. Never mad about a great performance against a good OKC team. So I wouldn't call them trash. I think the team just needs to step up. Roles have changed. It takes, a little adjustment period, but I think you're going to get a little more consistency from players towards the back end of the season because their role is solidified for 25, 30 games.
I'm right there with you. I don't think they're trash. I think they're just competitive. How about that? They're not hyper competitive with Wemby, but they're competitive. And what I mean by that is what Zach just said, is roles are adjusting right now. You don't listen to me, you don't listen to Zach, or listen to Steph Castle, who said after the loss versus OKC that the team cannot duplicate what Wemby can do. So they have to do it in the aggregate. And that's what they're trying to figure out right now. And you're seeing it. Technically, you are seeing it. Castle's been playing improved ball. I think he's not getting enough love right now, but Keldon Johnson's really, really come on of late.
He's been fantastic of late.
Been fantastic off the bench. And then Fox is slowly coming along right now, hitting 20 points in the recent games. So it's coming along, but it's like a shock to the system. That's what it is. I mean, they just dropped the news on the Spurs team when that Wemby was going to be out just like that. So, yeah, you're going to have to get adjusted to that. Though the fact that they hadn't had much time with Fox to get them integrated into the system because of the road trip, there's that as well. So, sure, is the season all but over practically? Yeah, it is. Playoffs ain't going to happen. Play-in is slipping through their fingers fast and is likely out of their hands at the rate they're going right now. But just like last season, where you saw the Spurs finish out strong, I think you might see that as well this season. But thank you for that comment there. I wish I could pronounce her name. I can't. GNT. So we appreciate that. Maybe you can leave a comment about where the origin of that name come from there, GNT. We'd love to hear from that. All right, the next comment, speaking of De'Aaron Fox, comes from 9Lives210. Quick aside, 9Lives210, love your profile. Yes, I think that's Goku Jr. I'm a big nerd, so you get marks for that. Good pick right there. All right, here we go. Quote, Fox has been disappointing. Doesn't feel like he makes a difference out there. But he's hurt people. He was averaging 25 hurt in Sacramento. So, okay, 9 Live sounds like you're saying that, yeah, he's he's giving Sacramento 25 hurt fingers, but the San Antonio has been disappointing. So I think that's what you're trying to say. Disappointing. Interesting word he used there, or Nine Lives used there. I don't think he's disappointing. I think he's just adjusting right now. And that's all it is. It's just an adjustment period right now for him to get going. And technically, he's starting to get going a little bit. Hit the game winner for the Spurs over Memphis. Played pretty well statistically versus the Thunder in a loss. Zach, disappointing? I don't know. That's harsh, as you said.
I think disappointing is the wrong word to use.
Yeah.
If we're gonna go back, the last 2 Spurs wins have been because of De'Aaron Fox taking over the fourth quarter. Go back to the Suns game. De'Aaron Fox got to the line 5 times, not 5 free throw attempts. He got to the line 5 times in the final 4 minutes of that Suns game when they won that game in Austin, like 12 days ago. And then fast forward to Saturday when they played Memphis. He was a big reason they won down the fourth quarter. He had 13 points going into the fourth quarter, ended up with 7 in the fourth quarter, ended up playing really well, game-winning shot, as you said. Hit free throws down the stretch as well. Look, I think we don't understand. Like, I asked him a question. I was lucky enough to ask him a question at the Spurs team hotel in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Asked him about how he got to acclimate with his teammates a little better over the break. And even he's telling us, guys, look, I haven't had a chance to put my boots on the ground in San Antonio to even get my mind right, to get my family settled, to get, to figure out where I sit on this team, to figure out how I fit. It's been it hadn't even been a month. The trade happened a month ago from today, and they've been on the road. They haven't even practiced. Give the guy the benefit of the doubt. I understand that it takes a while to he probably understood the system in Sacramento a little better than he understands the system in San Antonio. He did it for 7 years. He's done this for 28 days. Give the guy a little break. He should have already had 2 game winners for the Spurs.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
That sort of sit there and be like, he's done enough. He's done way more than expected from a guy who's been on the road for pretty much the last month and a half for 2 different teams.
Yeah.
I'm not judging somebody off that is not what I do.
Yeah. I think it's way too soon to start using words like disappointed or bust or not working out. Way too soon. Circle back to this. I think it should be fair at the end of the season. Give him their last 20-ish games. See how he fits in. And also, too, losing Wemby wasn't just a shock to the system, the Spurs as a whole. It's a shock to De'Aaron Fox. I mean, he probably was looking forward to playing with Wemby. I was going to free up my game. I'm going to maybe do a little bit more offensively, gamble a little bit more defensively, So you lose that aspect for Fox or any other Spur on the roster, and that's going to impact you as well. So there's that. But no, way too soon to say disappointment and no. Stop that already, Spurs fans. We're not there yet. And I think giving him the last few games of the season, still, in my opinion, won't really give us an indication of how he'll fit into the system, because I want to see what he feels like with a full training camp, a full practice, a full summer runs, a preseason. Then we could talk turkey. Zach, your thoughts?
I mean, he's rolling around with a broken thumb. I don't know. He showed it to us in the press conference.
I remember that. Yeah.
The thing is bent in half. So to sit there on his shooting hand, and he's still doing these things. So once again, it's not.
Yeah,
that's blasphemy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go blasphemy. See, look, you're turning Zach into Red Hulk right now, man.
There you go.
He's getting ticked off right now. You don't want to tick off Zach Montana. Hey guys, we thank you all for leaving those Locked On Spurs fan comments. Keep them coming. We appreciate that. Zach, we've been talking about it the whole show. You are with the Silver and Black Coffee Hour. We need you to brag about that. How can fans check it out? What's it all about? Take it away, man.
We are an Austin-based podcast. Me, Tom Petrini, Aaron Blackerby, some of my great buddies. They both do a fantastic job on their end, so got to give a shout out to them. And we're just an Austin-based podcast that loves the Spurs, and we're getting bigger and bigger, and we're trying to kind of expand our brand and who we are. We're just a very positive outlook. We're not here for the get all clickbaity. So we just want to talk Spurs basketball and try to keep a positive light on a very positive, fun team to watch. I know it's been pretty disappointing the last week or so with all the news, with the pop news, the Wemby news, but it's happened to us. We're on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. But we do it live in the studio, so it is a pretty cool different little touch on what we do, and everyone's got their own personality and a way of life. So it's a fun little podcast that you should check out. Silver Black Coffee Hour. Come check us out.
Exactly, yeah. So pretty much the Lockdown Spurs, we try to keep it Disney here. You go with the Silver and Black, it's pretty much we're
independent. We don't have anybody to answer to.
You don't got anybody to answer to. So you go check them out, and they'll let loose on the Silver and Black and all the topics of the day. With Spurs, Silver and Black, community outreach, all that stuff. And by the way, with the Spurs, looking at Austin as a second home, what better way to see what they're doing than going to the Silver and Black Coffee Hour and see what the Spurs are doing in Austin, Texas. And again, Zach, it was good to meet you finally in Austin. I had a good time chatting with you, having dinner with you, sitting with you during the conference. So yeah, finally we can meet up.
It was fantastic. And once again, I do want to say I appreciate you meeting you and showing great hospitality. I felt like a fish out of water in a media scrum and whatnot. But everyone I met was super fantastic. And I can't wait to do it again. I think we'll definitely be back in that realm and that kind of atmosphere. And I'm super stoked to do it again.
Absolutely. Again, he is Zach Montana. Follow him on X at Zach Montana 210. You want to do that right now because Zach used to run with a gang called the Care Bears. You don't mess with the guy who ran with the Care Bears.
No, sir. No,
you don't. You don't. Yeah, you just throw a soft pillow in your face, man. That's all we do. We thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get a podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Kens 5 Plus app, YouTube. You know where to go. Locked On Spurs newsletter. If you're watching on YouTube, it's in the description below. It literally says LO Spurs newsletter. Click on that link. Completely free. Sign up right now. Hit your email inbox every single day. We'll be back tomorrow talking all things Silver and Black as the Spurs season is continuing and starting to wind down. Wow, it's already
it's gonna get crazy though. Crazy final few months.
Yeah. Crazy final. Yeah, exactly. He said final few games. So we'll see how the Spurs finish out this season. So for Zach Montana, I am Jeff Garcia. We're gonna put a lock in this episode of Locked On Spurs.